Hello and welcome to the video. We are going to talk about our sprint for this month, and we're going to talk about how you can set your team up for success and follow through with everything that's going to be expected of them. By the end of the video, we'll figure out what's new, what's going on, we'll learn the pacing of the sprint, and we'll learn your role in setting the expectations in your studios. All right, let's talk about what's new. First, we're going to be introducing our general member-base characters. We call them Jess and Maya, and we're going to be not only introducing them, but we're going to be using them to help people set expectations moving forward. Speaking of expectations, we're going to set expectations for the first visit card. First, we're setting expectations for using probing questions. Specifically, we're going to be asking them to use at least one probing question per section on the first visit card. And in order to make sure that they can get that done, we're also introducing the expectation that the first visit card should be started during the booking call. So we're using it all the way from the booking call through the VIP. And this is going to help us if we have to do a fast track intro. Lastly, we're setting expectations for using sales architecture and developing that sales architecture while the member is in class. So we're here to help you. We're introducing these simple expectations in training so you can very easily track and support your team in maintaining these expectations. All right, let's quickly dive into these expectations so you have a lot of clarity as a leader. Absolutely still watch the regular video for everyone so that you can see what your member ambassadors are seeing. But let's dive in and talk about this general member base that we can use to set expectations. Okay, this is an example of our primary member. We call her Jess. Jess is a suburban woman, age 35 plus, higher income, and then we talk about what she needs, that she needs more variety and balance. She needs more guidance and personalization. Ultimately, she's looking to be empowered in achieving her goals and feel confident and future focused. So as a leader, you are going to have your folks identify on the first visit card, is this more of a Jess or is it more of our next character who's a Maya? And then use your Jesses and your Mayas as you're working with your team to really help everyone understand how the identification of a Jess really helps us connect OTF as that solution. All right, here's Maya. Maya is a millennial woman, aged 25 to 44, in the suburbs and city. She's looking for something a little bit different. Here, we're going to be leaning into more of the technology, trackable results, efficient workouts, and these quality facilities and the engaging variety. I'm sure you can already see the differences, and you're probably already identifying some of your members in your head. And of course, for Maya, she wants to also feel confident and accomplished, but she really wants to feel on trend, future focused. She's really looking for self improvement. Using your Jesses and your Mayas are really a way to almost gamify for your team to be able to say, hey, it's your job to figure out, is this a Jess or is this a Maya? It's going to help us find the right solution. It's going to help the coaches meet our Jesses where they are and really push our Mayas so they can get to where they want to be. All right, next let's talk about these expectations for probing questions using the first visit card. All right, let's talk about these expectations. First, we're setting the expectation that your staff starts to use the first visit card during the booking call. We know with the introduction of that fast track intro, we lost a lot of that really good conversation and rapport building. So we need to start picking it up earlier. Building on that, we're setting the expectations that your team asks at least one additional question per section on the first visit card. Number 2 is really where you come into play, helping your team understand that they don't necessarily need to go through the entire first visit card on the booking call. It's a series of conversations that are happening between the booking call and between the conversations that are happening during our show process and ideally during the VIP experience. Lastly, we're setting the expectation that if at all possible, that they're writing a J or an M to identify whether this guest may lean more toward a Jess or a Maya, along with any notes that they have. And this is really just one for you to make sure that your folks have the goal in mind, and also for our coaches to kind of get an immediate indicator of how they can start to open conversations. Okay, now let's dig into the expectations that we have for sales architecture to offer the best solution. All right, first we have to get prepared. Help your team understand how to build sales based on the first visit card. So create a this or that for our memberships and our promotions. Ideally, we'll be able to see potential objections, and maybe we'll have an idea of the fit description that the coach is going to offer. And then in an ideal world, we don't do sales architecture because they just say yes. The coach has done such a great job, and the coach asks, can we use this card for the sale? And the guest is like, yes, absolutely. Great. We can, at that point, teach our team to assume that sale from the coach, just pick up that great and say, let's process that membership. Let's get your performance monitor for you. Of course, our next best scenario is when an objection comes. That's when the this or that sales architecture and solution really comes into play. The expectation, though, is that your team starts working on the sales architecture. They start building the potential this or that's for whatever objections may come while that member is in class. All right, we're not going to roll this whole thing out all at once. We'll take it piece by piece. So we've identified for you week by week what you're doing on the calendar. So you'll watch and learn, and also just set those expectations to add a J or an M to the first visit card, and also set those expectations for starting the first visit card on booking calls. And then just let those two things simmer for a little bit. Let everyone get used to it. Hold people accountable. Then as we move into another week, we'll set expectations for that one probing question per section, and then building a sale while the intro is taking class. Just layers expectations in. And of course, we want you to be reasonable about these expectations, but be assertive about the change. We know that the fast track intros really do limit the first visit card, but have conversations. Did you start the first visit card on the booking call? Did you try to make phone calls for the show process? How much did we try to engage people? Be reasonable, but be assertive about the change. All right, that's what we have for the month of November. We're introducing the concepts of identifying a Jess or a Maya and having that goal, kind of gamifying it right away. We're starting to use the first visit card during the booking call, during the show process, all the way through, building that rapport in tiny little chunks instead of just waiting to do it all at once, and really setting expectations for those probing questions. And then just help your team get into the habit of building that sale before class so they already have it in the back of their mind. When an objection comes, they have that in their back pocket that they can push out. And we teach them how to assume the sale from the coach. Thanks for learning with us today.